The relic in the dark hall. The night was silent when the human entered the forgotten ruins. He had traveled far across deserts and broken valleys, guided only by half-burnt maps and old myths. Locals had warned him not to step inside the alien ruins, whispering about curses and voices in the dark. But he was curious, stubborn, and arrogant. The kind of man who laughed at fear. The ruined temple waited like a sleeping beast, its gates carved with strange alien symbols, glowing faintly under the pale light of 2 moons. He stepped inside slowly, his boots echoing on the cracked floor. Dust filled the air, thick and heavy, each breath carrying the taste of forgotten centuries. The walls were covered with carvings, spirals, creatures with many arms, faces that did not belong to any living race. They seemed to move when he looked too long, twisting into shapes that mocked his human mind. He shook his head, forcing himself to laugh, pretending he was not unsettled. In the center of the grand hall stood the relic. It was a statue, tall and silent, made of black stone that shimmered with strange light. The figure was humanoid but not human, its eyes closed, lips pressed together, hands resting against its chest as if in prayer. For a moment he thought it was only a monument, another piece of alien art lost to time, but as he stepped closer the air grew colder, and his laughter grew softer. The hall stretched around him like a mouth ready to swallow. Shadows clung to the pillars, crawling slowly as if alive. The silence was thick, pressing against his ears until he could hear his own heartbeat. He told himself it was nothing, just the weight of the old building still. His hand reached for his flashlight, and the beam landed on the statue's face. It was too perfect, too lifelike. The lips curved as if hiding a secret smile. The eyelids almost seemed ready to open. He felt uneasy, but arrogance burned stronger than caution. He smirked, muttering under his breath, "So this is the great alien relic?" "Just a rock in the dark," his voice echoed, bouncing off the broken walls, but something strange happened. When the echo faded, another sound lingered. Softer like a sigh, he froze, his eyes darting around the hall, searching for the source. There was nothing, only silence again, heavier than before. He shook his head, convincing himself it was his imagination, but deep inside the hall felt alive. The walls seemed to lean closer. The floor hummed beneath his boots. Even the air felt like it was watching him, waiting. He walked toward the statue and circled it slowly. At the back, the carvings grew darker, twisting into shapes of chains, flames, and screaming faces. The human laughed again, louder this time, trying to break the tension. "An idol of fear," he mocked, "built by cowards afraid of shadows." He slapped the statue's arm as if challenging it. The sound echoed unnaturally, sharp and heavy, like stone against bone. For the first time, he felt the hairs on his neck rise. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. He stared at the statue's lips, and for a single breath, he thought they had moved. He stepped back quickly, his heart beating faster. "No," he whispered to himself. "It's just my mind playing tricks." But his feet did not want to leave, as if invisible roots held him to the ground. The silence broke with a faint whisper. It was not an echo, not wind, not his own voice. It was something else, something ancient. He could not understand the words, but he felt them crawl across his skin. The statue's closed eyes seemed heavier, as if they were watching from behind the stone lids. The human swallowed hard, fear creeping inside him, though he still tried to hide it. He raised his voice, pretending to mock, but his voice trembled. "Speak, then. If you are real," he said, "show me your power. Or stay silent like the dead stone you are." The hall answered with nothing, only the faint drip of water in the distance. And yet, in that nothingness, he felt something breathe against his ear. He turned sharply, his flashlight beam cutting across the hall. No one was there, no living thing moved in the shadows. But the whisper came again, clearer, almost a voice now. It brushed against his thoughts like cold fingers sliding into his skull, and though he could not deny the truth, he forced a grin. "Maybe this is what scared the old tribes," he said, laughing nervously. A little whisper in the dark, enough to make weak minds kneel. But his laughter died quickly, because this time the whisper did not fade, it grew louder, shaping into words, words that chilled the blood in his veins. "Now you belong to me," the voice whispered. Clear and sharp, the human staggered back, his eyes wide, his breath heavy. The statue still stood motionless, eyes closed, lips pressed, but the words hung in the air. He told himself it was madness, an illusion, but his heart knew otherwise. The relic was not dead, not silent, not a simple monument. It was awake, and it had chosen him. The hall trembled faintly, dust falling from the cracked ceiling. Shadows lengthened as if reaching toward him. The human stood frozen, caught between disbelief and terror. And in that heavy silence, broken only by the ghostly voice, he realized he had crossed a line that could never be undone. The kiss of arrogance. The human stood frozen, his breath sharp, his body trembling. The words still echoed in his mind. Now you belong to me. He wanted to believe it was a trick. Maybe his tired mind, maybe the wind. But the whisper was too real, too close, like someone breathing inside his skull. For a long moment he only stared at the relic. The statue's lips still closed, its eyes still shut. Yet he could not escape the feeling that something inside the stone was alive, something that could hear him, something that was waiting. He laughed again, but his laughter was weak, hollow. Is this all? A little voice to scare me? He said, trying to sound brave. He stepped closer, circling the statue again. The carvings on the floor glowed faintly now, like veins of light pulsing under his boots. The air grew heavy, pressing down on his shoulders. Arrogance sparked in his chest. Stronger than fear, he refused to kneel to shadows, refused to let silence win. So he placed his hand on the statue's face. The stone was cold, almost burning from the inside. He smirked and whispered, "If you are alive, then wake up," and then, recklessly, he leaned forward. His lips touched the stone, a mocking kiss. The sound echoed unnaturally in the hollow chamber. It was not like kissing stone. It was like kissing something asleep, something that shivered at his touch. At first, nothing happened. He almost pulled away, ready to laugh at his own foolishness. But then the hall shook, a deep vibration crawling through the walls. The carvings flared brighter, lighting the chamber in crimson glow. The statue's lips softened under his, as if stone had turned to flesh. His eyes widened, but before he could move, the whisper returned. This time it was no longer faint, no longer weak. It was a voice, clear, deep, filled with hunger and promise. "You have awakened me. Now you are mine forever." The words struck him like chains. Echoing in his bones, he stumbled back, but too late. The statue's eyes snapped open, glowing with alien fire. The lids cracked like breaking stone, but inside burned two endless lights. The human's chest tightened, his heart racing. He could not look away. The eyes were pulling him deeper. The relic moved, not fully, but enough to prove it was alive. Its stone hand twitched, sending cracks racing down its arm. Energy poured out, glowing threads wrapping around him like living chains. He struggled, pulling, shouting. But the more he fought, the tighter they grew. The hall was no longer just ruins, it was a cage, and the relic was its master. Vision struck him suddenly, sharp and violent. He saw armies kneeling before the same statue. He saw alien kings offer their crowns, warriors sacrifice their blood. He saw galaxies burning, whole fleets collapsing under its power, and always, always the whisper repeating, "Mine, forever." He fell to his knees, sweat dripping from his face. His body shook as the chains of light dug into his skin. The relic leaned forward slightly, its lips moving this time. It was no longer just whispering in his mind, it was speaking into the air. "You dared to mock me. Now you will serve me." Fear battled pride inside him. Part of him wanted to scream, to beg, to run. But another part, a darker part, felt something else. A surge of strength filled his chest. His muscles tightened with new power. He realized the relic was not just binding him. It was giving something back. His arrogance twisted into defiance. He clenched his fists, forcing himself to stand even as the chains pulled harder. "You think you own me?" he shouted, his voice shaking but strong. "I am human. I bow to no one, not even you." The relic only laughed, a sound that shook the temple walls. "Human," it said. "You belong to me because you are strong, not weak." The voice carried both praise and threat. "I will not destroy you, I will use you." The words echoed like a curse and a promise, and in that moment he knew there was no escape. The temple doors slammed shut with thunder. Dust rained from the ceiling as the relic's chains pulled tighter. His flashlight flickered and died, leaving only the red glow of alien fire. He stood trapped in the center of the hall, chained to the will of something eternal, and deep inside, though fear filled him, a dangerous thought grew. What if this was not a curse but a gift? What if this ancient power had chosen him for a reason? His lips curled into a faint smile even as his body trembled. For the first time he whispered back to the relic, "Then take me. But know this, I will never be only yours." The hall went silent again. The chains loosened but did not vanish, glowing faintly like scars of light. The relic's eyes dimmed, but the whisper stayed inside his mind. He could feel it breathing with him, living through him. And he knew his life was no longer his own. It was the beginning of a bond that would shake the stars. The chains of the relic. The human stood in the dark hall, his breath heavy, his body trembling. The glowing chain still wrapped around his arms and chest, pulsing like living veins of fire. Every time he tried to pull away, the chains tightened, digging into his flesh without leaving a wound. It was not pain of the body, it was pain of the soul, sharp and cold. He realized now that the relic was not just stone, it was alive, ancient. Watching him from the inside, the whisper returned, soft but commanding. "You mocked me. Now you will carry me." The voice was inside his bones. Inside his blood, it was not asking, it was declaring, and he knew resistance would come with a price. The hall grew darker, though no shadows should have moved. The pillars groaned, the carvings shifted. Faces twisted on the walls, screaming silently. Their mouths wide and endless, he shut his eyes, but the visions only grew stronger in his head. He saw alien empires kneeling, saw galaxies burning in wars older than humankind itself. The chains burned brighter, pulling him closer to the statue. His knees bent as if the ground itself was forcing him down. He bit his lip, refusing to kneel, refusing to surrender. His voice cracked as he shouted into the silence. "I am not yours, I am human, I choose my path." The relic laughed, a sound like stone grinding against stone. It shook the entire temple, dust and stones falling from above. The chain snapped tighter, lifting him from the ground. He hung suspended in the air, arms stretched out, his body glowing with the same crimson fire. The voice boomed louder now, no longer a whisper but a command. "You will serve me, human. Not because you are weak, but because you are strong." The words cut through him. Heavy, undeniable. His head throbbed as more visions burned in his mind. He saw himself leading alien armies, crushing worlds, ruling over stars with a crown of fire, and yet in each vision, the relic's voice echoed, "Forever mine." He screamed, fighting against the visions. But the more he fought, the more power surged into his body. His veins glowed beneath his skin, his muscles trembled with energy. It was like being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. The relic was not only chaining him, it was changing him. For a moment he stopped struggling, and he felt it, the surge of alien strength flowing into his heart. His arms felt like iron, his eyes burned with a light he had never known. If he wanted, he could shatter the stone pillars, break the floor beneath him. The power was intoxicating, dangerous, tempting. The chains loosened slightly. Sensing his hesitation, the relic spoke again, softer now, almost gentle. "Do not resist. Accept me and you will rise above all your kind." The human clenched his teeth, anger boiling inside him. "I will not be your puppet," he growled. Though his voice shook with doubt, the hall shifted once more. The floor cracked open beneath him, revealing a pit of endless darkness. From the pit, shadows rose like liquid smoke, twisting and reaching toward him. The chains lowered him slowly, as if the relic wanted to drop him into the abyss. The voice thundered, "Serve or be unmade." His heart pounded as the shadows touched his legs, cold and sharp. He felt his strength fading, the fire inside him dimming. Fear clawed at him, but pride roared louder. He remembered every warning he ignored, every laugh he made at the stories of this place. Now he stood at the edge of truth, either surrender or vanish into nothing. With a final desperate cry, he pulled against the chains. The fire inside him exploded, burning brighter than before. The shadows hissed and shrank back, the pit closing with a thunderous crash. The chains cracked, some breaking apart in bursts of red light. For the first time, the relic's laughter stopped. Replaced by silence, the human fell to the floor, gasping, his body glowing faintly. The chains still marked his arms like tattoos of fire, but he was free enough to stand. His chest rose and fell, his eyes burning with defiance. He looked up at the statue, now half cracked, its face glowing with anger and hunger, and he said with a broken but fearless voice, "You may bind me, but I will never kneel." The relic answered not with words, but with a pulse of energy. The walls of the hall shattered outward, the ruins collapsing. The night sky opened above him, stars burning brighter than ever, and deep inside his mind the whisper returned, colder, sharper, unending. "This is only the beginning. You are mine forever. The bargain of power, the ruins lay shattered around him, yet the relic still stood unbroken. Half its face was cracked, but its eyes still burned with alien fire. The human stood with trembling arms, his body scarred by chains of light, but even in pain he refused to kneel, his voice steady as he said, "I will not serve, not as your slave." The relic's laughter rumbled like thunder, shaking the broken stones. "You already carry me within you," the voice said, echoing in his chest. "Your blood burns with my fire. Your soul is bound with my chains. You can fight me, but every strike, every breath will only make me stronger." The human's jaw clenched, but his fists did not lower. Then the relic's tone shifted, softer. "Tempting. Why resist what you cannot destroy? Why waste your strength in chains? Serve willingly, and I will give you what no human has ever known. Power to crush worlds. Power to command armies. Power to be more than mortal." The words dripped like poison, sweet and dangerous. Visions flared in his mind again, but this time sharper, brighter. He saw himself wielding fire that tore through fleets. He saw alien queens kneeling before him, warriors bowing at his feet. He saw galaxies whispering his name with fear and awe. And in the center of it all, the relic whispered, "This can be yours." His breath grew heavy. His eyes burned with the glow of temptation. For the first time, he felt himself wanting it, not out of arrogance, but hunger. The power was not just calling to him. It was already inside him if he accepted it. He would no longer be prey, no longer mocked. He would rise above, untouchable, eternal. But then, another vision struck, different, softer. He saw Earth. Small and fragile, he saw his people. Weak compared to alien empires. He saw them crushed, enslaved, destroyed, just as the relic had once destroyed others, and then he saw himself, standing at the edge, holding the power to stop it or cause it. He staggered, clutching his head, torn between hunger and fear. "Why me?" he shouted into the night. "Why choose me?" The relic's voice filled the silence with a simple, cruel truth. "Because you mocked me without fear. Because you dared what others could not. Because your arrogance woke me, and now your strength will carry me." The words were like fire in his chest. He fell to his knees, but this time not in surrender. He pressed his hand against the ground, glaring up at the burning eyes. "If I take your power, I will never serve," he said slowly. "I will use it for my own path." "Not yours," the relic laughed again. But the sound was no longer pure victory. It carried something else, amusement, and perhaps a shadow of doubt. "Then we bargain, human," it said. "My power flows through you, but it demands loyalty. Choose your terms. But know this, there is no gift without a cost." The human rose, flames flickering faintly in his eyes. The chains on his arms glowed like molten tattoos. Pulsing with each heartbeat, he raised his hand, and the broken stones around him trembled. Power surged through him, real, heavy, undeniable. He knew in that instant that the relic was right. He could not destroy it, but he could twist it, bend it, maybe even master it, and so he spoke, his voice firm, filled with fire. "I accept your power, but not your command. I will never kneel. Never surrender my will. If you want me, you will walk with me, not above me." The hall grew silent, the flames dimmed for the first time. The relic did not speak. Its glowing eyes narrowed, as if measuring him, and then slowly, the chains loosened, fading but not vanishing. A whisper brushed his ear. "We shall see, human. We shall see." The air shifted, no longer crushing but heavy with promise. The human stood taller, stronger, the weight of alien fire burning in his chest. He was no longer only himself, but not yet a puppet either. He had made a bargain with something ancient, something dangerous, and he knew the galaxy would tremble when it learned what he had become. Above him, the stars shone brighter, as if watching. The ruins lay silent, but inside his mind, the relic whispered again, "This is not the end, it is the beginning of forever." The human clenched his fists, fire sparking at his fingertips, and he walked out of the ruins, carrying both freedom and chains. The forever bond, the desert wind howled through the ruins as the human stepped outside. The broken temple collapsed behind him, yet the relic's whisper still pulsed inside his skull. Each heartbeat carried fire, each breath carried weight. He was no longer only himself. He was bound to something eternal. But whether he controlled it or it controlled him was a question left hanging in the stars. The night sky stretched wide above him, Filled with alien constellations for the first time, he noticed the stars seemed to burn brighter, almost as if they had awakened too. Watching him, marking him, the Relic's voice returned, low and soft, not cruel but steady. "We are one now, human. You carry me, and I carry you." He clenched his fists, the glowing scars of chains wrapping his arms like fire tattoos. When he lifted his hand, sparks of crimson lightning shot into the air. He felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. The Relic's power was his to command, yet it throbbed with hunger. It wanted more blood, more devotion, more worlds to break in the distance. Lights flickered on the horizon. Alien scouts, drawn by the awakening, had come. They landed with weapons raised, voices shouting warnings. He turned toward them slowly, fire burning in his eyes. The Relic whispered, "Strike them down. Show them your power." For a moment, he almost obeyed. The power begged to be released. It screamed for battle, but then he remembered Earth. Fragile and small, he remembered his people, mocked and underestimated by alien empires, and he realized if he let the Relic rule him, humanity would suffer as the others once did. He raised his hand and the aliens froze. The crimson lightning lit the sky, but he did not unleash it. Instead, his voice thundered across the sands. "I am not your slave. I am human. I am more than your chains." The Relic hissed in his ear, but it did not stop him. The aliens dropped their weapons, some falling to their knees. They had seen relic bearers in legends, but never a human. Fear and awe rippled through their ranks. One whispered, "The statue has chosen a death worlder." And in that moment, the galaxy's fate shifted. The Relic laughed softly inside him, almost pleased. "You defy me, yet you carry me. You resist, yet you wield my fire. Perhaps this is why I chose you, not to obey, but to change me." The human narrowed his eyes, whispering back, "Then hear this, I will use your strength, but my will is mine." The night grew silent, the stars above burning like witnesses. He walked past the kneeling aliens, each step leaving scorch marks on the sand. Inside him the Relic pulsed, restless but bound, not conquered, not free, but forever tied to him. Their voices tangled into one, man and Relic, power and defiance. At the edge of the desert, he stopped and looked at the sky. His voice was steady, filled with both warning and promise. From this night, the galaxy will remember, not the Relic that enslaved kings, but the human who bound it. And if war comes, they will not face me alone. They will face us both. The Relic did not argue. Instead, its whisper curled into a single chilling word: forever. And the stars themselves seemed to shiver, for the galaxy had gained something new. Not a Relic-bound slave, not a puppet of stone, but a human carrying a fire that even the ancient gods could not tame. It was not the end. It was the beginning of a bond that would echo across eternity.